Shalom. First off, and give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Muchar Kodash. That belongs to the apostles and elders of GMS that teach us His word. And Shalom to the hopeful elect upon the four corners of this earth that shall make it a body here in truth and in sincerity. So this lesson I want to bring out is going to be based off this illustration that you see on the screen, and as you can see, you got the heart and you got the mind, and you know, I I see this as, you got the flesh and you got the spirit, and it's a constant tug of war and they're going in their own direction, but you got to pick one, because after seeing this, I was looking up some scriptures and I got this one right here. So here I want to go straight into it. This is Matthew chapter 26 verse 41. It says, "Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And that's why you got to pick one, because it says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You know, because in this truth we have a lot of things that we want to do. We want to wake up as many people as possible. We want to constantly put out these videos. We want to be essential members in the body, and our spirit is willing to do it. Our spirit wants to do it. Our spirit desires it, but the flesh is weak. The flesh goes against that which the spirit wants to do. That's why in that tug of war they're going in opposite directions. You got the heart that's going in this direction, which I see as this as the flesh, and you got the brain which is going in this direction, which I see as that spirit. You know. So here, let me get the definition of that word flesh in the blue letter. Here's a pronunciation.
Strong's G 4561 Sarx.
So here I'm gonna get just the definition that starts at C right here. Uh, since that goes with the topic, it says the sensuous nature of man, the animal nature, without any suggestion of depravity, the animal nature with cravings which incite to sin, the physical nature of man as subject to suffering. Salakia. So it's saying that's the side which has those cravings. It wants to do what it wants to do. It wants to do what feels good. It's just the sensuous nature of man, the animal nature. So it just wants to do what feels good. It wants to do what's gonna profit that flesh, and what profits that flesh. Just laying around doing nothing. Getting into BS. Sin. That's what profits that flesh. But the spirit is what wants to do those things of righteousness. It's what wants to be productive. It wants to put out videos. It wants to do these things, and so that's why you have to pick the spirit, because the spirit is willing, but you have to force your flesh to do so. And with that you have to fight the flesh. You know. So here I want to get Galatians chapter 5 verse 16. So it says, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye should not fulfill the lust of the flesh. So it's saying walk in the spirit, and what it means by walk in the spirit, live in the spirit, live with that spiritual lens. And again, we're in this flesh, so of course we want to do things correctly, we want to do things perfectly, but we're not going to, because we're in this flesh, so we're going to mess up. We're gonna give in to that flesh at times, but our goal is to be perfect, even if it's impossible in these bodies. Our goal is to be perfect, you know. So it's saying walk in the spirit. So to the best of our ability, we have to walk in the spirit. If the spirit's willing to do those things, then we have to walk in it. We have to walk in the spirit, so that we won't go over to those desires of the flesh. Once we get a desire of the flesh, we should immediately cut it. Your spirit should, walking in the spirit, looking at it through a spiritual lens. You're supposed to filter it with scriptures. That's looking at it with a spiritual lens. That's walking in the spirit. Sometimes a lot of the time you gotta cut yourself. So here verse 17 it says, "For the flesh lusted against the spirit." and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. It says they're contrary, they're opposites. So one is gonna want to do the opposite from what another is gonna want to do. Because they're against each other. So that's why again you have to pick when and really it should be a balance. You should know when really you should constantly be tapped into that spirit, but you should know when it's time to lock in and be solemn, be focused on those spiritual things, and when it's time to relax. There's a balance to it. But the flesh, with the flesh you can't take it too far. There's certain moments where that flesh will incite you to sin. But that's a different situation. But here I want to get First Corinthians chapter 9 verse 27. Just going with what I said, when hey, like I said, sometimes you gotta cut yourself. Sometimes you have to cut yourself off from things that your flesh wants to do so that your spirit can shine. It says, so this is First Corinthians chapter 9, verse 27. It says, "But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway." Because we preach these things to other people. We preach to people how they should be carrying themselves, what their conversation should be like, how they need to be locking in to the spirit because of the days that we're coming into. We preach these things to people, but hey, us ourselves could end up a castaway because even though we're preaching these things to people, we need to make sure that we're saying that to ourselves as well. But even with the first half of this precept, it says, "But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection." Let's get the definition of that word, subjection. Here's a pronunciation.
Strong's G 1396. Dilagogeo. Dilagogeo.
It says to lead away into slavery, claim as one's slave, to make a slave and to treat as a slave, i.e., with severity, subject to stern and rigid discipline. So hey, it says stern and rigid discipline. That's how you have to treat yourself sometimes, with that stern and rigid discipline, no matter what, you know? Because again, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So even though your spirit is willing to do certain things, you go wake up and plan your day, and you want to get things of productivity out the way, and you can plan it all out, and the spirit will be like, yeah, I'm about to get this done. I'm about to make it through this, but the flesh will be working against that all day. And we've all been there. You sit down, you turn on TV, or you pick up your phone and start scrolling through social media. You start playing the game, and it takes your mind off of those things that the spirit wants to do. So that's why you have to put yourself through that stern and rigid discipline sometimes, because once you do that, hey, since your spirit's willing, you're gonna get those things done. You're gonna be able to accomplish those things which you've set your mind to, which you've set your spirit to, because hey, you put yourself through that rigid discipline. You've cut that flesh, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna get one more scripture. It says this is Isaiah chapter 26 verse 8. It says, "Yea, in the way of thy judgments, O Lord Yahweh, have we waited for thee. The desire of our soul is to thy name and to the remembrance of thee. With my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness." So A is saying with the soul and with the spirit, we seek the Most High. Not with flesh. The flesh is what is what's taking you away from it in the first place. So it's saying with the soul and with the spirit, that's what keeps you desirable unto the Most High. You have to make sure that you're constantly fueling up that spirit. The flesh is going to want you to constantly feed that, but you have to make sure that you're constantly feeding that spirit so that you don't so that you don't lose your connection with it. You don't lose your connection with the Most High. That's why you need to constantly feed your spirit. That's why you need to constantly cut your flesh, because if not, then you're gonna lose that connection with the Most High because you ain't feeding your spirit. That fire is gonna dwindle down. You know. So hey, it says the spirit is willing. You know, you have to make yourself willing. You have to make yourself willing to do those righteous things. You know, you have to make yourself willing to do those things that you've set your mind to. You have to make yourself willing to want to be perfect. You know, so with that, you have to constantly cut the flesh so that you don't so that you aren't steered away from that spirit. You know. So, hey, with that being said, once again, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Mukhar Kodash. And with that being said, hey, Shalom.